All right, good morning, everyone. We will begin the Lee County Port Authority Board meeting. Today is September 5th, 2024. The time is 9:31. I would like to introduce Pastor Jason Collum from City of First Church for the invocation. Please stand. I pronounced your name wrong, sir. Please correct me.
That's okay. It's Callahan. Well, good morning, everyone. First, I want to say thank you for the opportunity to be with you here today and to open today's meeting and to just pray God's blessing over it. And just want to thank each and every one of you for all that you do. And whether you feel like every eye is on you or you feel unseen, just so grateful for all that you do for the city and for this community. And just also want to encourage you to stay consistent and just want to thank all the leaders for all that you do and for leading the teams and leading these departments. And more than even just what each of you do, I think who you are is even more important. What you bring to your teams, what you bring to your departments and to this community is so important. So with that being said, let's pray this morning. Just ask God's blessing over this meeting. God, we thank you so much for who you are. God, I thank you that you're faithful. God, that you're generous, you're loving, you're gracious, you're kind, you're consistent. And God, you never leave us alone. And God, today I pray for discernment and wisdom in today's meeting and every topic that is shared and discussed. I thank you for the authority you have given those in leadership. And God, I pray that they would continue to lead with excellence, humility, and boldness. And God, I pray that you would give strength today to those who need it most. And that as we meet, that you would bring unity to everyone involved in these decisions and topics. Let everything that is talked about and being decided on bring an impact and change that is both necessary and positive. And God, we invite your presence into this room, and I ask that you would give us all what we need for today. For those who need peace, I ask that they would be filled with peace right now. For those who need joy, I pray that the joy of the Lord will be their strength. And Lord, for those who need direction in their life, I ask that you would guide them. Thank you, God, for who you are, what you're doing in this city, and that we can trust you with all that we are. So God, I ask your blessing over this meeting today. And I pray that you would bless every person involved. Be with us as we gather today and be with us as we go. And Lord, I ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. All right, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, please be seated. Okay, at this time we will take up the consent agenda. Commissioner, do you have any items to pull for discussion?
No, I do not.
I don't. Commissioner Pendergrass. Did I say Commissioner Hammond, right?
Oh, yeah, he said no.
Commissioner Hammond?
Yep, I have none.
Do you have none?
We're good.
Commissioner Sandell? Commissioner Rain? I have none. Okay. So at this time, we'll call for public comment? Or we got to go through the agenda, I'm sorry. It does. I've lost my way this morning, folks. I've got a lot on my mind today.
I make a motion to approve the balance of the consent.
Thank you.
And I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion to approve the consent agenda from Commissioner Pendergrass, a second from Commissioner Hammond. At this time, I will ask for public comment. Any public comment? Okay, I will close public comment. I will come back to the board. The board have discussion on the consent agenda. Okay. Any objections? I have a motion to approve from Commissioner Pendergrass, a second from Commissioner Hammond. Any objections? No objections. We approve the consent agenda unanimously. Okay, at this time, I will convene as the Board of County Commissioners. We will now, please introduce public hearing item number 23.
Good morning, Commissioners. Robert Holborn with the County Attorney's Office. This is a public hearing to allow the public an opportunity to comment on the use of tax-exempt airport revenue bond proceeds to finance a portion of Phase 2 of the Southwest Florida International Airport Terminal Expansion, otherwise known as the Concourse E project. A public hearing is required by federal law, specifically Section 147F of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended, and under the Federal Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act of 1982, otherwise known as TEFRA. Notice of this hearing has been posted on both the airport and the county's website. Additionally, I have provided proof to the clerk that this hearing was published in the news press last week. And so at this time, I will turn over this public hearing to Brian McGonigal, Deputy Executive Director and Chief Finance Officer for the Lee County Port Authority.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Rob. You hit the key points. The TEFRA is required prior to the issuance of the airport revenue bonds. So if there's no questions, Mr. Chairman, I would ask that if there are any comments from the public, and if not, then we need a motion to approve the TEFRA resolution.
Okay, the staff, the board have any questions for staff at this time?
Not on this part.
Okay. Okay, well, I will ask for public comment. Is there any public comment on item number 23? Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment. Do we have a motion?
I'll move approval of the TEFRA resolution, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion to approve, a second from Commissioner Sandelli. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, any objections? No objections, item number 23 moves unanimously.
Okay,
Okay. Okay, that concludes the
Thank you.
public.
there's two more.
Two more. Okay, so introduce item number 24.
Item 24 on the agenda is a request for the board to approve the series resolution approving the issuance of the Lee County Airport Revenue Bond Series 2024 AMT in an amount not to exceed $600 million to finance a portion of Phase 2 of the Southwest Florida International Airport Terminal Expansion, otherwise known as the Concourse E project, and payment of the related costs of the bond issuance. And I'll turn it over to Mr. McGonigal for any further details.
Yeah, a little bit more detail. Thank you, Rob. All bids are in for Concourse E. The total project is $1,067,549,377. You'll see those items come later on in the meeting. The project will be funded by approximately $900 million in airport revenue bonds, including PFC's, FAA, state and local funds. We do plan on doing this in two different borrowings. One in a few weeks, approximately $575 to $600 million. We'll come back a year and a half later for the rest. If I'd like to briefly introduce Bill Case, he's our financial advisor from PFM, who can briefly describe the parameters of the deal, the interest rate assumptions, what he's seeing out in the airport market, and the appetite for airport debt. So again, this item will come back to you in a few minutes as the Board of Port Commissioners. But if you don't mind, I'll just have Bill Case, just a real brief summary on the parameters of the deal. If you don't mind, thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Bill Case. I'm with PFM Financial Advisors. In terms of the parameters, what's in the resolution are pretty conservative parameters. I was going to go over what kind of the estimated size of the deal. It's going to be approximately $565 million. The underwriter's compensation should be under 0.5% of the par amount. We're expecting to sell 30-year bonds with final maturity of October 1, 2054, annual debt service of approximately $45 million. In terms of interest rates, the rates, depending on the maturity, should be somewhere between 3 3/4 to 4 3/4%. These will be tax-exempt bonds subject to the AMT. And before I get into the market update, I would like to provide some really good news that the authority received. Two of the major credit rating agencies completed the review for this financing. They have affirmed the ratings of, Moody's affirmed the ratings of A2, stable outlook, and Fitch, A, stable outlook. Both of those ratings are at the same rating level. So that's really good news and a testament to the really a strong passenger growth here, as well as the financial management. And we're expecting a third rating from Kroll bond rating agencies tomorrow morning. So, in terms of the market update, plenty of airport deals have been coming to market this summer. More to follow. So there's been quite a bit of supply. They've been well received. So there's still quite a bit of demand for for municipal bonds out there right now. And the market in general, Interest rates, I think the market's expecting a rate cut here in September. That's probably baked into rates that we're seeing right now in the market. In terms of timing, we are planning to sell these bonds September 24th, and there'll be a closing in early October then. So with that, I'll take any questions you may have.
All right, any questions, at this time, Commissioners from staff, for staff?
Yes,
Commissioner Ryan?
couple of questions. So two agencies rating in the A category, both on their own accord, no type of insurance to give a rating of that nature, just on its own?
That's
face
correct.
value?
Those unenhanced ratings based upon the authority's financial strength.
Okay, and I know you gave a range of 3.5, 3.75 to 4.75. Since we're gonna bifurcate the $1 billion, we're gonna do it in two parts, one now and obviously another $400 million. Subsequent time where interest rates will be down, how are you going to separate the fund, or the funding and or the pricing? Because obviously, you're going out September 24th for $565 million, if I heard you correctly.
Yep.
What's on the item before us is $1,067,000, so there's another $400+ million.
Yes.
Sometime in the future, obviously, those rates should be, so how are you pricing this? Just trying to understand how the market's gonna look at this in two chunks.
Yeah, and it's common for large projects to have multiple tranches of bonds being issued. They understand that, some of it, one of the main reasons is to have certainty on how much funding the authority is going to need to complete the project. The second deal is expected to go to market in 18 months. All of that is, normal course for, a financing plan for major projects.
Yeah, all I'm trying to do is obviously the public that don't do what you do for a living, obviously what we need to go through is the public hearing, trying to indicate and showing the issues. 18 months from now, based on at least the trajectory, we're probably not in the best interest rate environment right now, but 18 months from now, most people believe, most economists believe, we'll be in a much better situation. So just trying to give some type of difference you might see on 24th pricing and then 18 months from now, based on what we all know. And
Yeah.
obviously no one's got a crystal ball.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, but yeah, you're right. The economists on Wall Street, as they're looking for 1 year, 2 year projections of where the treasury rates and the municipal rates are going to go. I mean, I guess there's probably more of a consensus that rates are going to be going down, so that's going to prove favorable to the authority if they're able to, do the second tranche of financing at, lower interest rates. And I would also point out that, as part of this transaction, there's a feasibility report done with financial projections. And that does take into account the second bond issue at, a very conservative interest rate. So, we are, when we do the projections, we're looking at current market rates plus 75 basis points. It's quite a bit of cushion there. So if we get into a more favorable interest rate environment, the debt service is going to be lower. Financial metrics are going to look stronger. So.
And it's fair to say that we'd capitalize on the interest rate environment, provided the financials continue to project what they're projecting. Obviously, if there's a deterioration of any sort in 18 months, that might offset and even increase that interest rate if that was to occur.
Absolutely. And another benefit also is that you're not paying interest on proceeds for the next 18 months that you're not going to be using. So.
Sure. Those are my questions.
Okay. Any further questions this
I have a
time?
question.
Yes, Mr. Pendergrass.
Sir, based upon what we're currently seeing with the prior projects, would there be any type of penalties to our user fees, the future users of the airport that would be paying for this? If this got continued longer because of construction delays or anything?
Can you repeat
Upon
that question?
draws, if the project's put down the road 2 or 3 years, would there be any penalties for these bonds?
In terms of the interest rates,
Yes.
no, they'll be locked in. So, the rates that we're we'll be selling bonds here for this first tranche. We'll lock in fixed rates. So if there's some type of delay within the project, it doesn't affect the interest rates at the invest.
Would there be any other penalties though if they asked for the money a year or two later with the original?
Oh, in terms of delaying the second deal? No, not necessarily. I mean, there won't be, it'll just be subject to the market rate environment at the time. But there won't be any penalties for having to delay the second tranche.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions for staff this time? Mr. Wright.
So, explain to the public, and obviously the commissioners just working in this world for a long time. So obviously we're going to draw down and issue bonds in September for $565 million. We're obviously not going to deploy all that capital. What do we do with the money that we're not putting in place, and it might be staggered over the next 18 months? So where does that go? What type of interest rate would it might receive to offset, obviously, the cost associated with carrying the debt?
That's a great question. Those proceeds will be received by the authority at closing, and they'll be able to be invested. Any proceeds that aren't being expended are invested at the rates that the county the clerk's office gets right now. And given the shape of the yield curve, the short-term rates are quite high, so it's almost where you're investing the rates about the same as what the interest rates are on the bonds.
Depending on how you structure, if you're structuring a ladder, sorry, Mr. Chairman, follow up. If you structure a ladder, you can conceivably actually yield greater return than you actually have for an expense.
Yep.
Because the way the yield curve is set up, 1 to 6 months is certainly a very favorable interest rate environment. Obviously, as you go longer, it drops down dramatically, but we do have a disproportionate yield curve in the first short-term environment. So that's going to help us a great deal. So I was just curious, what do we do? How do we sweep it? Because theoretically, there's always consternation when you borrow that type of money, but if you can meet or even exceed, you potentially could pick up some interest income to offset
Yes.
and be greater than the interest expense.
Yes, and it really, reduces or greatly reduces or eliminates the carrying costs of having those proceeds, up front. So yes.
The market basically is in the best condition to have short-term investments and obviously paying for long-term debt.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Further question?
one-
Commissioner Ham.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. One last question. So obviously, we're taking out a big loan here, and then it sounds like the debt service, or that basically the annual payment's gonna be $45 million then? Is that what it is? So, could somebody just comment on the strength of the authority to be able to make those payments every year?
Sure. Yeah, and this can be found in in the feasibility report that will be part of the disclosure document that goes to all the investors. And so they, in there it demonstrates the ability for the for the airport to pay that debt service, over the projection period. And that is all reviewed by the rating agency. So that's part of their credit review to make sure that the authority is able to make those debt service payments.
So I see they gave us, like you said, A2 and A rating, so obviously they believe that they feel very strongly that we'll be able to meet that, and they bring these highly rated investment grade bonds now.
Yep, yeah, and in terms of airport ratings, those are very strong ratings, and it really is not just the testament to the financial strength, but when you're taking on a major project like this with a lot of debt that's coming on for the authority, for the rating agencies to still have confidence that that they'll be able to pay the debt, and that's really what the ratings supposed to demonstrate is what their views are on an issuer being able to pay the debt and not default. So yeah.
Excellent. Okay, thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner Rain.
Just obviously, I appreciate Commissioner Hammond's question, the $45 million, but conceivably, that $45 million really won't be realized till year 3, because obviously if we take the money staggered over 18 months, we're gonna obviously have some investment income, obviously to offset the investment expense. So until we've actually deployed all the capital and aren't investing anything, that $45 million really won't be truly felt till month 19 or thereafter.
Well,
Some period of
the
time.
debt service will start being paid right away, but yeah, the actual, the earnings does offset the amount of proceeds that the airport, has to issue. Because we take into account that there's going to be investment earnings on that project, on the project fund, and so that reduces the amount of the initial deposit, so that those earnings are taken into account during the construction period.
And then to follow up with Commissioner Hammond's question, obviously, the Port Authority and most of the projections and most of the things we've been demonstrated shows a burn rate, shows a number of days of cash you have available. So obviously, we have a significant number, and I don't know what that is, but Brian, you probably have some indication of.
650 to 700 days.
So almost 700 days that we have, and obviously we won't feel the full impact of these bonds. So we've deployed all the capital and stopped investing any of the money. So we have 700 days for a burn. So that was just a follow-up to Commissioner Hammond, great question.
Yeah, and the authorities, the authorities' goal is to maintain that liquidity too, so that, that they have in place right now, so.
Thank you.
Any further question? No? Okay, at this time I will call for public comment. Anyone wish to speak on item number 24? Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment. Would someone like to make a motion? Okay, we have a motion to approve from Commissioner Sandelli.
I'll
Do I have
second it.
A second from Commissioner Hammond. Any further discussion from the board?
I have a comment, Chair.
Mr. Pendergrass.
It's like, and obviously we know the expansion needs to happen. We look forward to the expansion, support the project 100%. My concern is confidence. I know we're going to be able to pay this, the users will be able to pay this loan, but I think we're overextending ourselves maybe because I'm sitting here, remember when I first sat here 12 years ago, I was told by nothing against the current staff, 4 directors ago, that we'd have a second runway and this expansion would be done within 7 years. That was 12 years ago. And I just have concerns about the projects we currently have in place now going forward and then overextending ourselves now. But, I know the project needs to happen. We should have done this a lot sooner, but we are here today. But I support the project, but I just have concerns about that. So I just wanted to voice my concerns.
All right. Any other comments from the board at this time? All right. I have a motion to approve from Commissioner Sandelli, a second from Commissioner Hammond. Any objections?
I object.
Okay, we have an objection from Commissioner Pendergrass. Item moves 4-1. Please introduce item number 25.
Item 25 on the agenda is a request for the board to approve an amended and restated master bond resolution, which authorizes the issuance of airport revenue bonds. The resolution provides for the rights of the bondholders, the payment of debt service from net revenues, handling of bond proceeds, bond covenants, and various other provisions. Since the board adopted the master resolution in 2000, there have been a variety of changes to bond financing, the airport industry, and the financing needs of the Lee County Port Authority. The proposed amendments addresses these changes. I'll introduce Mr. McGonigal again for any further comment.
Thank you, Rob. Thanks again. I have nothing else to add. That was
Okay, any questions for the staff at this time?
Yeah,
Commissioner
well,
Hammond.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Just wanted to get it on the record and really say it out loud so everyone can hear it, because we get emails after media reports that why are our property tax dollars being used like this? Does this master bond resolution pledge any property tax dollars from Lee County?
absolutely not. It is strictly the net revenues of the airport, no
Okay.
property taxes. Yep.
So to explain that, basically it works the same way then like any other business does. The people who use the business are the people who are paying for the business, and if the business makes money, then the business expands and grows, and if the business doesn't make money, obviously then the business doesn't do so well financially. But just like when you go and buy an Apple iPhone, well, Apple's got a big fancy beautiful new headquarters. You paid for that if you bought that iPhone. Part of your iPhone profit went right to that big fancy new headquarters. Well, so the users who use the airport, part of what comes back to the airport in revenue goes to pay for this, goes to pay for these bonds and these expansions, because guess what? The airport continues to grow. Now I think we're up to 11 million passengers in a calendar year. I mean, we've got to continue to plan for the future. We've got to build an airport that's big enough to handle the passengers. We can't get to March and see just complete and total gridlock here at the airport because we didn't think forward and we didn't build a big enough airport. So I think this is the right thing to do, and I'm glad to know that we're not pledging any property tax revenue to pay for it.
Yep.
Thank you, Commissioner Hammond. Because that is a question we get a lot. People think our tax dollars are paying for all this. So I just wanted to point that out as well. Commissioner Rain.
So, I think it's great that Commissioner Hammond put that on the record, but the other thing that's unique about any type of airport and why there's a desire for debt, we have a lot of partners that obviously are participants in not only what the revenue is, but then obviously there's potential to give them back. So they have the full-fledged confidence in what we're doing as their expansions have really driven the population. As we have more choices, we have better flights, we have more supply. Obviously, we're trying to catch up with the demand that's here, and that's really the growth that's going through. So this isn't your normal government facility. This is really a private entity, but you have, how many airlines actually flying out of RSW now?
Oh, we got eight signatories. About how many total? 15 total.
So 15 different airlines that obviously have demonstrated their own confidence and faith to bring in their carriers to try to expand, to do that. So not only do we have an eye and a set of eyes that we have from this board, you have regulatory agencies, you have rating agencies, and then you have all those different public companies from United to Delta that are actually looking at this too, and they have an opportunity to invest, double down, put more flights in, or pull back. And every indication says that everyone's in agreement. So there's a universal acceptance of what's going on, and it's just a opportunity. And I understand Commissioner Pendergrass's comments. We are probably trying to play catch-up ball here, and that's unfortunate. But we are where we are, and I think every indication from every other source that's available to comment on this has certainly given us the green light that this is a great project.
Any other question? Commissioner Sandell.
I think during my term, the one thing I learned is that everything is connected. I know a few of our commissioners here, maybe some of you had some troubles getting here this morning because of traffic. So we talked about the airlines, we talked about runways, all these pieces. But I think what we're really interested in is that experience from the time you leave your house to the time you get on the airplane. And so the planning that's being made for the roadways, for the ramps, the expansions and stuff, that is all part of that. And I think that will be the ultimate experience that any passenger has. They can get there, they can park, or the alternative, whatever. And we are playing catch up to some degree, but I think we're continuing to work on the experience, and so my congratulations to the team for being forward thinking in that regard. Thank you.
Commissioner, could I make a comment?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
From the airport management standpoint, this is $1 billion program. This is money into our community. It's one thing that we pay the bill from other partners that are paying us to run an airport. And it is not property taxes. It never was, never is. But the amount of revenues that $1 billion put into the Lee County's economy is magnified. Somebody could tell me that's an accountant, but it's multiple millions back into the economy that wouldn't be here if we weren't doing this. And we always have to remember that this airport is the #1 economic driver in Southwest Florida. And so it's important that we keep up, maybe ahead of everybody, because of what we're doing here, what our whole mission is. And I just want to keep that in perspective.
We often talk about from the economic development side, people come here as visitors many times, they like it, they buy a place, many times they bring a business here. That goes to what you were saying. It's all connected. So, thank you.
All right, at this time, I will call for, I'm sorry, Commissioner
I want
Pendergrass,
to
I'm sorry.
touch on what Randy said and Brian said. Thank you, Commissioner Hammond, for bringing that up. And no fault to anybody in the media. We have a lot of people coming through the media network here in Lee County to cover the stories and stuff. It's unfortunate because they come from different parts of the country or state. But, a lot of people almost assume it's property taxes paying for it. So that's something, Steve, we have to make sure anything we put out, we have to put out that it's not property taxes, it's user fees. It's the same thing like the minister this morning for the prayer this morning. He mentioned city twice. He had no idea that we're not in a city. We're in the county. This is the county. It's not a city. So we have to constantly inform people that this is not property taxes and what is a city and what is a county. So it's really important that we get that message across. That's our opportunity to do that. Because if they're new in the area, they don't know. They just came here from South Carolina or Ohio or somewhere. They're just covering a story. They just assumed it's
So true.
a city. They always think of a mayor for some reason, or they think of the tax, everything's taxes. But in reality, it's not like that here in Lee County. So again, you're talking about the economic driver. Yes, tourism is our #1. 42% of our jobs in Lee County is tourism driven. And if it wasn't for the airport, those jobs wouldn't be here. And the tourism pays for the past bonding of the ballparks and everything around here. So the airport's really critical. But I still say, anywhere I go across the world now, our airport's still looked at as one of the best airports in the world.
And
you mentioned RSW, you mentioned Fort Myers and Sanibel. They will automatically say, oh, it's the best airport ever. I don't want to go to New York. I don't want to go here. I want to go to California. I want to go there just for the airport experience. And we were trying to increase that expansion of that and make it a better opportunity for people to come here.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner. Anything further? All right, I'll open up for public comment. Does anyone wish to speak on item number 25? Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment. Do I have a motion?
I'll move approval, Mr. Chair.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion for approval from Commissioner Hammond, second from Commissioner Wayne. Any further discussion from? No? Okay, any objections? Seeing no objections, motion carries unanimously 5-0. Okay, at this time, we will reconvene as the Board of Port Commissioners. We will now introduce the administrative agenda.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'll have Brian introduce item number 26, which is a request the board approve a concurring resolution approving the issuance of Lee County Airport Revenue Bonds Series 2024.
Yes, Commissioners, this is the exact same item that you just did under BOCC, number 24, so now 26 is the exact same thing so we'll need a motion on as the board.
I'll move approval,
Port
Mr. Chair.
Commissioners.
Okay, we have a motion to approve Commissioner Hammond, second from Commissioner Wayne. Any questions for staff at this time on that? Okay, I will ask for public comment. Anyone wish to comment on item number 26? Seeing none, I will close public comment. Do we have further discussion from the board? Seeing none, any objections?
Object.
Okay, we have objection from Commissioner Pendergrass. Item moves 4-1. Please introduce item number 27.
Item 27, request board approve a concurring resolution for the amended and restated master bond resolution. I'll ask Mr. McGonigal to elaborate.
And again, Commissioners, this is the same agenda item that you just approved under the County Commission. So we need another motion. Thank you.
Move the item.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve from Commissioner Rain, second from Commissioner Hammond. Does anyone wish to speak on item number 27? Seeing none, I will close public comment. Any further discussion from the board? Seeing none, any objections? No objections, item moves unanimously. Please introduce item number 28.
Item number 28, request board approve a second amendment to the fuel system agreement for Southwest Florida International Airport with RSW Fuel Company. Mr. McGonigal?
Yep, thank you. RSW Fuel Company leases the fuel system for the airport. They operate 4 fuel tanks on the north side of the airport. There's 4 tanks that currently hold 1.6 million gallons. This is all the fuel that goes through the system into the for the airlines at the gates. It's a big system, holds 1.6 million gallons. RSW Fueling wants to increase the capacity. They want to add 3 more tanks that are double the size of the existing one. So the existing capacity will go from 1.6 million to 4.2 million gallons when they're done. It's going to take them about 2 years to build this. So we applaud them for doing this. They're looking at the future. The system pumps about 73 million gallons a year. It's a lot. It's sometimes in the winter we only have 2 to 3 days supply left. So this is really good news, and it's no cost to the airport. So,
Any questions for staff at this time? I'd like to have a question. They are paying for this?
they are 100%, yes.
Okay.
The fuel consortium altogether is paying for this. And we're gonna, because of that, we need to extend their lease to amortize their cost. We're gonna extend it out to from 2041 to 2054. So we think it's a real good thing to do.
Yeah, thank you. Any other comments for staff or questions? Okay, seeing none, I will open up for public comment. Does anyone wish to speak on item number 28? Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll move the item.
Motion to approve, Commissioner Rain, second from Commissioner Sandelli. Any further discussion from the board? Seeing none, any objections? Seeing no objections, item moves unanimously. Please introduce item number 29.
Item 29, request board approve the renewal of the Air Service Incentive Plan. I'd ask Mr. McGonigal to introduce the item.
Yep, thank you. We've had an incentive program, the airport's had it since 2002. The current one is now set to expire this month. To remain competitive with other U.S. airports and our levels of domestic and international service. Our airline incentive program, like I said, we've had it since 2002. It's been very successful. As airlines come in with new markets, they're looking for discounts. And this plan allows us to do that. allows us to remain competitive. For domestically, we reduce their fees anywhere from 25 to 200,000, and we reduce their fees up to $500,000 for international service. So we're real pleased to do this, or like I said, it allows us to remain competitive with other airports. We really don't want this to expire. It's a really good tool to have in our pocket as we travel the world and try to get new service here. And it pays for itself. So it's a great program.
Any questions for staff? Any comments? Okay, at this time, I will ask for public comment. Would anyone like to speak on item number 29? Seeing none, I will close public comment. Any further discussion from the board? Any objections? Seeing no objections, item number 29 moves unanimously. Please introduce item number 30.
Item 30, request board authorize low bid for the purchase of and delivery of diesel and unleaded fuel for the Lee County Port Authority. I'd ask Mr. Fisher to introduce the item.
Yes, good morning. For the record, Mark Fisher. Item 30 is a low bid award to Palmdale Oil for annual unleaded and diesel fuel purchases to support the Port Authority's vehicle fleet. We spend about $1 million a year on fuel, and the low bidder is expected to earn about $150,000 per year for this contract, which includes the delivery of fuel. Staff is recommending award of a 3-year initial contract with 2 2-year optional renewals and that will hold the current bid price. Be happy to answer your question.
Any questions or comments from staff? From the board? Okay, seeing none, I will open up for public comment. Any public comment on item 30? Seeing none, I will close public comment. Do we have a motion?
Move the item.
Second.
Motion to approve, Commissioner Wayne, second, Commissioner Hammond. Any further discussion from the board? Seeing none, any objections? Objections, item moves unanimously. Please introduce item number 31.
Item number 31, request board approve.
Oh,
You skipped your vote,
I did?
number 29.
Oh, I apologize. I thought I did 29.
No, I think you did.
I made the motion, Commissioner Hammond seconded.
Yeah.
It was moved and approved. Moved and approved.
Okay, I apologize. I got a lot on the list today, folks. All right, let's go back to 29. Thank you. Thank you. Let's go back to 29. We did public comment, so we're just down to the motion. Motion was from Commissioner Wayne. Second was from Commissioner
Sandelli on that one.
Sandelli. All right, second from Commissioner Sandelli. Any objections? No objections. Item number 29 moves unanimously. Just swore we did that. Okay, item number
31.
31. Please introduce item number 31. We're back on track, folks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item 31 is a request the board to approve a contract amendment with Suffolk Construction Company as well as approve an overall total project budget. I'd like Ms. Underhill to introduce the item, please.
All right, thank you. Good morning, commissioners and committee members. For the record, Emily Underhill, Deputy Executive Director of Development. So for item 31, the scope of the RSW Terminal Expansion Phase 2 project includes a new 14-gate Concourse E facility with expansion opportunities to support 19 gates, 14 new passenger boarding bridges, an expanded main terminal space, chiller plant expansion and upgrades, major roadway modifications, new asphalt and concrete apron areas, and taxiway improvements. All of these elements are to provide added capacity to the RSW terminal facility through 2036. At just over $1 billion, the Phase 2 project will be the largest project ever undertaken by the Port Authority and will involve complex phasing and construction sequencing over a 3-year period with an expected start date in early October of this year. Suffolk Construction Company, Inc., or Suffolk, as the board-selected construction manager, has completed all pre-construction procurement activities for the project over the past several months by bidding 32 trade packages to the subcontracting community. The lowest responsible bids have been accepted and total $486,313,521. Subtrade bids were not received for 5 of the bid packages, and therefore allowances have been put in place to include within the contract to account for these eventual costs. Additionally, in-contract administrative allowances have been established, which are presumed costs but not yet fully defined. and these will be controlled by the Port Authority and authorized once better definition is known. And lastly, in-contractor owner-controlled contingencies, which represent 12% of the building-related construction costs, are also included. Suffolk's professional fees are associated with them holding subcontracts and managing those subcontractors for the, quote, building portion of the work, which is the expansion of the main terminal, Concourse E, and the chiller plant work. It also includes Suffolk providing construction management services on all other project elements, which includes the roadway modifications, the new airfield pavements, and the passenger boarding bridges. Collectively, these construction management fees total $137,851,388. At this time, 3.4% has been identified as subconsultant work. The culmination of Suffolk working closely with the Port Authority's DBE manager and Suffolk successfully promoting minority opportunities to potential subtrade bidders has resulted in an overall anticipated total minority participation goal of 23%, significantly exceeding the original goal-setting amount of 10%. All of the prior design, permitting, pre-construction, and bidding procurement fees, as well as the construction and engineering-related costs that are included as the following administrative agenda items, numbers 27, 28, 30, 31, and 32, I'm sorry, those numbers are not correct. I just noticed that. There will be 5 more items subsequent to this item that are inclusive to this agenda item's total project budget request. And I will individually cover those contracts and contract amendments following the approval of this item. With the approval of the additional grants before you today, as of this date, we have received $24.9 million in funds for reimbursement of design costs, $7 million in community project funding, and $8 million in ATP funds towards construction costs. Conservatively, we plan on an additional $24 million in future fiscal year AIG funds and another $8 million in more future fiscal year ATP funds, bringing the total of FA funds to just shy of $80 million. From FDOT, we have an additional $23 million programmed in the work program, and $57 million is expected to be requested for programming for the construction. In addition to federal and state grants, we have received approval for $206 million in passenger facility charge funding. So in conclusion, staff recommends, number 1, approval of a contract amendment with Suffolk Construction in the amount of $759,719,418 to perform construction management services for the Phase 2 project. And number 2, approve an overall total project budget for all work described herein for the amount of $1,067,549,376.
Okay, any questions for staff at this time, commissioners? Seeing none, I will open up for public comment. Anyone wish to speak on item number 31? Seeing none, I will close public comment. We have a motion.
Yeah, Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve, but I also have some questions then at this point.
You want to do that at the,
I'll second for discussion.
okay. Commissioner
You got the motion
Hammond?
to approve. And we
To
got the
approve, and a second from Commissioner Rain. Okay, back to the board for discussion.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. So one of the things I wanted to talk about here today, and this was an idea that I had as we were looking at this. So obviously we're a policy-making board, we're a strategy board. The decisions that come to us are decisions like, should we expand the airport, in response to the growth that we're seeing? Should we build this Terminal E expansion to handle future capacity problems that we might see at the airport? Is this the right amount of money to spend? Is this the right way to fund it? Do we have the ability to fund it and pay for it? All of those are, policy and strategy calls that the Board of County Commissioners makes. But we don't manage the day-to-day operations of the airport. That's in the charter. That's the way it's set up. We actually hire an executive director who then hires a professional staff to manage the day-to-day operations of the airport. But one of the things I would like to have come back to us on big projects like this, as we mentioned, this will be the largest public works project probably in the history of Lee County, would be progress reports so that we can guide and provide policy direction if necessary to our executive team. So, I guess my question is could we, as part of this motion, and maybe I'll just go ahead and make it part of my motion, ask for progress reports at each special management committee meeting and each Port Authority meeting, that basically hit on key metrics that you would want to watch during a project like this. So metrics like, time elapsed, budget elapsed, how are we doing on the key project milestones? Have they been completed? Are they behind schedule? Are they ahead of schedule? All of the things that you'd really want to watch during a construction project. And then I believe that we're looking at the idea of bringing in another third-party construction manager who could help us kind of watch and do those audits along the way too. So maybe they're the ones that could help us by making these presentations. But I want to be kept well informed of how it's going through those progress reports. But wanted to get your thoughts on it as well.
Yeah. Okay. I would like to have a thought on that as well. When we are briefed, it gives us as commissioners an opportunity to ask questions and make suggestions or bring things up that maybe make the staff here look into a few things. And I think that's what our briefings are for, and we try to utilize that opportunity. But I think Commissioner Hammond, you make a great point. We don't see the whole plan. We don't see the plan. We don't review the actual building plan. But we do have enough experience. I ask questions from staff, and I think that's a great opportunity. And I think this would give us a better opportunity to understand a little bit. So I think the updates are a great idea to give us a little more information as this goes along, because it is such a huge project that rely on us as well to see if we can help guide it to be on time or the money's being spent in the right way, which is what we all try to do. So that's my comment about it. So any other? Commissioner Sandelli? Commissioner Pendergrass?
Oh, good. I just wanted to say my comments earlier was because of some confidence issues over the last 12 years, things have happened. And obviously with this project here, I feel totally confident with the team from Suffolk and Pete and his team and our leadership team here now. We're giving you that direction now. And I think my question to you, Steve, are you going to be able to keep this project on time and budget over the next 3 to 5 years?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, you're recognized.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay.
I hope so. That is the intent. And we're doing a couple different things that the Port Authority hasn't done historically. And you'll see this in upcoming commission meetings. We're going out for extension of staff, which will allow us to, supplement our staff with, whatever, professional or technical expertise that we would need at any given point in the project. Following this meeting, we have it teed up with some meetings with some of our construction partners to get that relationship and that communication going, kind of in line to Commissioner Hammond, your thought of what's the process, what's the project, so we can come out and brief, and more than happy in whatever medium to provide that to the board.
And that's why Commissioner Hammond's comments, I think you are going to do it anyway, some type of matrix to show where that, but what I like to see is if they're a day late, somebody in your staff noticing that and put them on notice, not wait 6 months or a year to say they're a year behind now, and then we hear about it a year later. So I think it's better to have the day-to-day, week-to-week, and that's why I think a few months ago we actually asked for have more county staff involved to help you to keep this through, so you have that. But it sounds like you're bringing some of the people on board to make sure that everything's done timely and within budget. That's the most important thing.
Yes, sir.
Because today it's not tax dollars, but it's user fees, and we as residents of Lee County, or anybody who flies out of the airport is paying for it. And like Commissioner Hammond said, we're not here running the day-to-day business, but you guys are, and we expect that of you guys. So you'll be able to keep this on time?
Yes, sir.
Hopefully. Okay, thank you.
Hopefully. That
Thank
is
you.
our goal.
Commissioner Sandelli?
Everything we do is somewhat complex, and everything's kind of tied together. The challenge we all have is what's the narrative that we present, not only within a closed circle of doing the work, but also to the public. When you start talking about $1 billion, it's a staggering number. But if you look at the way it's broken down, there's a number of pieces that go into making that up. So how we present that, how we communicate that, what's the narrative for that, and I think going back to what Commissioner Hammond said, if we develop that narrative, that'd be part of the process of how we're going to report back and keep staying on track. So thank you.
Mr. Wayne?
Yes, as the second on Commissioner Hammond's motion, I will certainly agreed to the modification. I think that's more than prudent. We certainly started to look at this a lot differently as we were making decisions, and then to further, be invested in the decision, continue to get progress updates. We've done that. We did that. We're in the process right now. You're working closely with our county manager. During my briefing, certainly we went through terminal expansion reports and projects and how we're doing. So again, it's just a little bit more hands-on to try to do what we can do to offset some of the things that may occur, or certainly be in front of what may occur. It's not commonly done in government, and, had this discussion the other day with FDOT. We're building a bridge out in Pine Island, and the contractor actually was sitting across the table from me, and we were having some interesting conversations, and they were not necessarily pleased that we put liquidated damages in, because it had never been done before. And in the government world, that isn't as common as it might be in the private sector. So it's just another way for us to stay on top of something, to try to stay involved. Money's great, but we also want to keep the project on time. To Randy's point earlier, the economic impact that it continues to have as we invest this money in the community, and it multiplies, and most times when you look at type of investment, one can conservatively say that you'll see a 10-time return on that, or multiplication of $1 billion might actually yield a $10 billion economic impact. So the impact of this is tremendous, and I like what Commissioner Hammond just put forward as a second. I'm more than happy to amend and go along with my commissioner.
All right, I'm gonna, if it's okay, Commissioner Hammond, I'd like to ask you to repeat the motion so we make sure we get it right on the record.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the motion is for approval of the staff recommendation here as outlined, with an added requirement and direction to staff to provide progress reports to both the Airport Special Management Committee and the Board of Port Commissioners at each meeting with the key metrics that you would use to monitor this project. And those metrics, for example, could be time elapsed versus where we're at on how much time has elapsed, and have they met the milestones that we're supposed to meet at those times? What are the key milestones that have been met? What are the key challenges they're facing? And of course, dollars spent versus where we were supposed to be at this point in the project. And any other construction milestones could be added. I mean, I imagine that could be a document that we'd have feedback on, but that's what I'm looking for.
Okay, Commissioner Rain, would you still consider?
I would, with an additional caveat is obviously as we receive these reports, we have the opportunity to enhance and add additional insight that we might want, or modifications to the additional information. We might come across something and say, you know what, we're getting these 5 metrics, now we want 7, now we want 9. I think that is just something that needs to be fluid and be able to adjust accordingly.
Okay. All right, I have a motion of Commissioner Hammond, second from Commissioner Wayne. Any further discussion? Seeing none, any objections? No objections. Item number 31 moves unanimously. Please introduce item number.
Commissioner, can we do public comment on that item?
I miss it, I'm sorry, gosh.
We did.
We did.
Yeah, we did.
Well, I'm sorry, I missed that part. Can I speak on that item before?
I have to go to.
Mr. Chairman, it's at the board's direction. The motion's already been adopted and seconded. It's in effect, but it's certainly at your discretion to allow public comment at this point.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, at this time, Kevin, come on up. We'll allow public comment. So I'm gonna reopen back to public comment, and we'll just go back to it again. I will ask anyone else that would like to speak on public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I sincerely apologize about the public comment. I had missed that part. I was actually going to save my comments to the end of today's presentation, but due to the motion on the floor, I feel compelled to move my comments up to this moment. So thank you all for your time. My name is Kevin Carnes. I serve as the Comptroller and Auditor of the Lee County Port Authority. And due to the gravity of this particular agenda item and the terminal expansion more broadly, I wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page in regards to the impact of this, this project on the community as a whole. And based upon all the comments today, I think my input is basically a period at the end of the sentence. You all know that I sent you an email earlier this week with an audit finding from the Pagefield project back in 2020. And although that project is completely different than the terminal expansion project that you all are working on now, as a comptroller and auditor, my job is to evaluate risk and to make sure that we have internal controls in place to make sure that that risk is mitigated as much as possible.
And so we have great internal controls as a group. Mr. Hannigan is doing a fantastic job. I actually forwarded him that report shortly after he accepted that position in June. So I trust that he is putting those additional internal controls in place. But I did want to bring to the board's attention of that report, specifically on page 6, if you have it in front of you, and I apologize, Special Management Committee, I will forward you a copy. But I wanted to read the recommendation that the audit back in 2020 for Page Field suggested, and at that time, was not adopted by LCPA because the project was significantly lower in cost. It was about an $18 million contract. But due to the dollars about this particular expansion project, we believe that we want to reaffirm our commitment to this recommendation and allow the board to reconsider adopting this recommendation, working with Mr. Hannigan on it. The recommendation from 2020 was that the LCPA hire a firm that specializes in construction auditing to improve the overall internal control framework for major capital improvements. The improvement of the independent control function is necessary to ensure the oversight, accountability, verification of billings, and the identity cost recovery opportunities, which I believe is what Commissioner Hammond's motion was all about. So what we would recommend, Commissioner, is that you hire someone that specializes in this as part of that oversight that reports directly to the board. So you all have that independent checks and balances on the oversight of this monies. Mr. Hannigan may be already working on that, but we felt with this amount of dollars on the table that we wanted to bring that risk specifically to the board for consideration, and based upon the dollars at stake, the clerk's office has decided to put this on our audit plan for 2025 as well. So there's going to be a series of checks and balances from what you all are doing and my office, but we wanted to reaffirm our commitment for you all hiring a construction auditing firm that specializes in this, just to make sure that we're above reproach in regards to this $1 billion. Thank you for the consideration and your time. I appreciate it, and if you have any questions, please let me know.
Okay. All right. Not a question and answer session, so.
You've opened public comments, so just go, if you want to ask if there's any other further.
Yes, I'm going to, yes, exactly. Kevin, it's just public comment, so.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. All right, any other folks want to speak on this item? Seeing none, I will close public comment. I will bring it back to the board. We already have a motion from Commissioner Hammond. We already voted, so I'm just going to go through it one more time. That way it's on the record straight, right? Commissioner Hammond, motion to approve. A second from Commissioner Wayne. Any further discussion? No further discussion. Any objections? No objections. Board votes unanimously. Let's move to item number 32.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item number 32 requests board approve the acceptance of a federal grant from the Federal Aviation Administration. And I'd like to ask Ms. Underhill to introduce the item, please.
Thank you. Port Authority staff has been working diligently with the FAA in an effort to secure a bipartisan infrastructure law, or bill, Airport Infrastructure Grant, or AIG, funding for the Terminal Expansion Phase 2 project. As a result of continued coordination between the Port Authority and the FAA Airports District Office staff, a grant agreement has been secured in the amount of $24,997,872 in AIG funds in fiscal year 22 through 2024 to reimburse the Port Authority for eligible costs paid towards the design of the Phase 2 project. Port Authority staff continues to work with FAA to secure additional grant funds to reduce the Port Authority's costs associated with this project. The attached grant was received after the August 2nd, 2024 Special Management Committee Green Sheet deadline. Therefore, this item was transmitted by email prior to this meeting to the ASMC for their information. Since FAA has requested that the attached grant agreement be executed and returned as soon as possible, Port Authority staff is requesting the board approve the acceptance of this grant and authorize the executive director to expeditiously execute the grant agreement on behalf of the Port Authority.
Okay, any questions this time, commissioners?
I'll move approval of the requested motion, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Second.
All right. At this time, I'll open for public comment. Any public comment on item number 32? Seeing none, I will close public comment. I have a motion for approval from Commissioner Hammond, second from Commissioner Wayne. Any further discussion? Seeing none, any objections? No objections, motion carries unanimously. Please introduce item number 33.
Item 33, request board award a contract to Ajax Paving Industries, which was the lowest responsive and qualified bidder, and I'd ask Ms. Underhill to introduce the item.
On June 14th, 2024, the Port Authority advertised a request for bids for the airside improvements paving package as part of the RSW Terminal Expansion Phase 2 project. The improvements associated with this project consist of full-strength taxiway and taxi lane construction with asphalt paving. The apron hard stands will consist of full-strength concrete construction and paving. A minority participation goal was set at 12%. However, based on information received, DBE Services have been committed at 12.03% of the total construction costs. It was determined that Ajax Paving was the lowest responsive and qualified bidder. Therefore, staff recommends, number one, that the board approve a contract to Ajax Paving Industries of Florida, LLC, as the lowest responsive and qualified bidder, resulting from our RFB, in the amount of $82,716,016.89. And secondly, authorize the board to execute a standard construction agreement.
Okay. Any questions, commissioners, at this time? Okay, seeing none, I will open up for public comment. Anyone wish to speak on item number 33? Seeing none, I will close public comment. At this time, any further discussion from the board?
I'll move approval of the requested motion.
Second?
Motion to approve Commissioner Hammond, second from Commissioner Pendergrass. Any objections? Seeing no objections, item number 33 moves unanimously. Please introduce item number 34.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item 34 requests board approve acceptance of another grant from the Federal Aviation Administration. I'd like Ms. Underhill to introduce that, please.
Port Authority staff has been working diligently with the FAA in an effort to secure Airport Improvement Program supplemental funding or community project funding, funds for the Terminal Expansion Phase 2 project. As a result of continued coordination between the Port Authority and our FAA Airports District Office staff, a grant agreement has been secured in the amount of $7 million in community project funding funds in fiscal year 23 to be used towards eligible costs for the Terminal Expansion Phase 2 project, which includes the construction of the airside improvements paving package. The attached grant was received after the August 2nd, 2024 Special Management Committee green sheet deadline. Therefore, this item was transmitted via email prior to this meeting to the ASMC for their information. Since FAA has requested that the attached grant agreement be executed and returned as soon as possible, Port Authority staff is requesting the board approve the acceptance of this grant and authorize the executive director to expeditiously execute the grant agreement on behalf of the Port Authority.
Okay. Any questions this time, commissioners? Okay, seeing none, I will open up for public comment. Anyone wish to speak on item number 33? Seeing none, I will close public comment. Do we have a motion?
I'll move approval of the requested motion.
Approval from, a motion to approve from Commissioner Hammond, a second from Commissioner Sandelli. Any further discussion from the board? Seeing none, any objections? No objections. Please, item number 34 moves unanimously. Please introduce item number 35.
Item number 35 requests board approve, or correction, award a contract with Middlesex Corporation for terminal roadway modifications. And I'd ask Ms. Underhill to introduce the item.
Thanks, Steve. On March 1st, 2024, the Port Authority advertised a request for bids for the terminal roadway modifications as part of the RSW Terminal Expansion Phase 2 project. This project consists of the widening and reconfiguration of the terminal access road arrival and departure levels. The project also includes infilling portions of the departure level bridge deck and reconstructing the second level pedestrian walkway bridges. A minority participation goal was set at 13%. However, based on information received, WMBE Services have been committed at 7% with an acknowledged good faith effort to meet the goal. It was determined that the Middlesex Corp was the lowest responsive and qualified bidder. Therefore, staff recommends, number one, that the board approve a contract to Middlesex Corporation as the lowest responsive and qualified bidder for the improvements in the amount of $60,535,204.90. And number two, authorize the board to execute a standard construction agreement.
Okay, any questions, commissioners, at this time? Commissioner Hammond.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. So this is a big project, you know, that is going to see a lot of passengers interact with it. This is basically widening the terminal access road and reconstructing pedestrian bridges and things like that. Talk to me about what is the plan for maintenance of traffic? How do we keep the airport running while we do this major reconstruction at the same time?
Yes, we've been working closely with Atkins, the designer, and Suffolk, the construction manager, to detail a maintenance of traffic plan on how they plan to handle, you know, allowing the passengers to continue to flow, traversing the roadway system, going from the garage into the building and back and forth. And we're trying to minimize as much as possible impact to those customers.
And Mr. Chair, if I may add on?
Yeah, Steve, please.
Yeah, and part of, you know, kind of the outreach that we've already started and will be finalized as we proceed through this is there'll be multiple phases as we go from the roadways. Part of it will be closed, part of it will be open, and that will ebb and flow with our communications and marketing team. Part of the thing that, you know, I would probably throw on our briefing is what we are going to do, what the current look is, get that word out into the community ahead of time, set the expectations. So if there's a roadway impact, the community will know, be it arriving or leaving. Part of it is we had close to 12 million passengers through the airport. That's a lot of touch points. So expand and, you know, hit all of those different media options out there and just really try to communicate as best as we can so we can try to reach as many people as we go through this, you know, ebb and flow of the evolution of the construction project.
Excellent, thanks. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
All right, any more from the board at this time? Okay, I'll open up for public comment. Anyone wish to speak on item number 35? Seeing none, I will close public comment on item number 35. Do I have a motion? A motion to approve from Commissioner Sandelli. I will second. So second from Commissioner Greenwell. Any further discussion from the board? Seeing none. Any objections? No objections. Item number 35 moves unanimously. Please introduce item number 36.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item number 36, request board ratify an agreement with the Federal Aviation Administration for a grant. And I will ask Ms. Underhill to introduce the item.
Port Authority staff has been working closely with the FAA in an effort to secure a bipartisan infrastructure law or bill, Airport Terminal Program, or ATP, funding for the terminal expansion Phase 2 project. As a result of continued coordination between the Port Authority and the FAA Airports District Office staff, a grant agreement has been secured in the amount of $8 million in ATP funds for fiscal year 2024 to be used towards eligible costs for the terminal expansion Phase 2 project, which includes specifically construction of the terminal roadway modifications. As a condition of the grant offer, the FAA required the Port Authority to accept and return the grant agreement no later than August 30th, 2024. In order to secure the grant agreement, the executive director executed it on behalf of the Port Authority. Therefore, staff requests the board ratify this action. Staff is recommending the board ratify the executive director's execution of this grant in the amount of $8 million.
Okay. Any questions, commissioners? Okay, seeing none, I will open up for public comment. Anyone wish to speak on item number 36? Seeing none, I will close public comment. Any further discussion from the board? Oh, I need a motion, excuse me.
Move approval of the request.
Second.
Motion, Commissioner Hammond, second from Commissioner Pendergrass. Any further discussion? No further discussion. Any objections? No objections. Item number 36 moves unanimously. Please introduce item number 37.
Item number 37, request board approve a contract with Oshkosh Aerotech for some jet bridges. I'd ask Ms. Underhill to introduce the item, please.
On March 28, 2024, the Port Authority advertised a request for bids for the Concourse E passenger boarding bridges as part of the RSW Terminal Expansion Phase 2 improvements. This project consists of supplying and installing 14 new passenger boarding bridges for the new Concourse E to match the existing architectural appearance of the existing passenger boarding bridges. A minority participation goal was set at 12%. However, based on information received, WMBE services have been committed at 13%. It was determined that Oshkosh Aerotech LLC was the lowest responsive and qualified bidder. Therefore, staff recommends, number one, that the board award a contract to Oshkosh Aerotech LLC as the lowest responsive and qualified bidder, resulting from the request for bids, in the amount of $20,110,000 $191,215.68. And number 2, authorize the board to execute a standard construction agreement.
Any questions at this time for staff, commissioners? Okay, seeing none, I will open up for public comment on item number 37. Would anyone like to speak on item number 37? Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Motion from Commissioner Wayne, second from Commissioner Hammond. Any further discussion from the board? Seeing none, any objections? No objections, the motion carries unanimous. Please introduce item number 38.
Item number 38 is approve a contract amendment with Atkins Realis, and I'd ask Ms. Underhill to introduce the item, please.
Recently, on May 16th, 2024, the board concurred with staff's recommendation to continue with Atkins Realis as the A&E of record on the RSW Terminal Expansion Phase 2 Concourse E project. On June 20th, 2024, the board approved an amendment to the Atkins Realis contract, which authorized Atkins Realis to continue as construction administrator for the Phase 2 Concourse E project. As a result, since that time, staff has negotiated a contract with Atkins North America, Inc. to perform construction administration services for all of the Terminal Expansion Phase 2 project elements, which include the roadway modifications, the passenger boarding bridges, all the airside improvements, Concourse E, and associated terminal expansion and chiller plant expansion improvements. Total fees for this work is $28,221,294, of which 10% is for minority subconsultants and 11.8% is for non-minority subconsultants. Staff recommends that the board approve a contract amendment with Atkins Realis in the amount of $28,221,294 to perform construction administration services for the Terminal Expansion Phase 2 project.
Okay. Any questions at this time, commissioners? Okay, Commissioner Hammond.
Thanks, Chairman. I see on the green sheet that it says construction administration services will include the following, and under that it says monthly reports to the Port Authority. Could we, I guess I'd gladly make the requested motion, but add to it that they actually make these monthly reports in person to the Port Authority at our meetings so that we can talk to them.
Steve, would you like to comment on that?
No, we'll make that happen.
Okay, great. So that'll be a part of your motion?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion for approval from Commissioner Hammond, a second from Commissioner Wayne. I will open up for any further discussion before I open up public comment. Okay, anybody wish to speak on item number 38? Seeing none, I will close it. We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Hammond, a second from Commissioner Wayne. Any further discussion? Any objections? No objections, motion moves unanimously. Please introduce item number 39.
Item number 39 approves a contract and contract amendment with EG Solutions. I'd ask Ms. Underhill to introduce that item, please.
All right, thank you. On June 20th, 2024, the board selected EG Solutions, Inc. as the top-ranked firm to perform construction, engineering, and inspection services for the RSW Terminal Expansion Phase 2 project and authorized staff to begin contract negotiations. Since that time, staff has negotiated a professional services agreement with the EG Solutions to provide construction, engineering, and inspection services. This scope of services describes and defines the construction, engineering, and inspection services by EG Solutions, which are required for contract administration, inspection, materials sampling, and testing for all elements associated with the project. Key duties and responsibilities of the CEI firm will be building systems inspections, general construction engineering and inspections, threshold inspections, fire and life safety, quality assurance program for airside and landside paving, and quality assurance program for certified welding inspections. The firm EG Solutions is identified as a DBE certified firm. Therefore, at this time, minority participation is 100%. Staff recommends that the board approve a contract with and contract amendment with EG Solutions, Inc. in the amount of $18,182,973 to perform construction, engineering, inspection services for the Terminal Expansion Phase 2 project.
Any questions or comments this time, commissioners? Okay, seeing none, I will open up a public comment. Anyone wish to speak on item 39? Close public comment. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion to approve from Commissioner Lane, a second from Commissioner Hammond. Any further discussion? Any objections? No objection, motion carries unanimously. Please introduce item number 40.
Item number 40, request board approve an amendment to the collective bargaining agreement, Article 17, between Lee County Port Authority and the Southwest Florida Professional Firefighters and Paramedics, Local 1826. And I'd ask Mr. Holborn to introduce the item, please.
Commissioners, item 40 on the agenda is request to approve the amendment to the collective bargaining agreement, Article 17, pay plan between LCPA and the Southwest Florida Professional Firefighters and Paramedics, Local 1826, IAFF, District 10, for the period October 1st, 2024 through September 30th, 2025. We're available for any questions you may have.
Okay, any questions this time from commissioners?
I just want to thank staff for working with them and showing that public safety is still number one here at RSW. Thank you.
Anyone else? Commissioners? All right, I will open up for public comment. Anyone wish to speak on item number 40? Seeing none, I will close public comment. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion to approve Commissioner Lane, second from Commissioner Pendergrass. Any further discussion? No further discussion. Any objections? Motion number 40 carries unanimously. Okay, that concludes the administrative agenda. Commissioners, Commissioner Hammond, do you have any commissioner items?
You know, the only thing I guess would be just, I see we've got obviously some folks here from the media that have been covering the story related to the current terminal expansion project. I know they're going to have a lot of questions, so I hope you'll touch on that in your executive director report so that we can, you know, all get the same information and, you know, get on the same page with that one. Thanks.
All right. Commissioner Pendergrass?
No.
Commissioner Sandelli?
No.
Commissioner Lane?
Yes. So obviously we went through the process up here and appreciate the controller's comments. Unfortunately, I don't know how we would incorporate them since there was a motion and a second. Furthermore, while I certainly would like to at least understand the process of the said auditor, not having any real insight into what auditors might be qualified. So certainly would be open to the thought, the conversation, the attempt to do so, but would look for some guidance on firms. This is a little unorthodox. If you were to do such thing, we generally go out in the RFP world. So I'm a little in some uncharted territories, but I think there's everyone's desire to keep progress reports and whatever. And coming from the accounting world, I certainly would prefer to have an auditor that has an expertise in this. And I understand the cost associated with it, but I'm a little lost here, County Attorney.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, you're recognized.
Thank you, sir. Just by way of initial response, I would respectfully suggest that the board be directed or direct their executive director to evaluate that request and make recommendations back to you as to how to implement, if at all, and in what context. The matter was pretty much a first impression here today. It was not on the agenda, so I don't know that we're prepared to address it substantively, but I would suggest that might be the most prudent course of action. I know the director wants to address you on his game plan, so to speak, as to managing the projects you approved today as opposed to the ones that he inherited in the past. And I think that report will indicate a substantial difference in theology, if you will, and would defer to him to evaluate the request and report back to you at a future meeting to see how that request may or may not fit into his plans to manage the project.
So do we have to make them?
No, sir. I believe the manager heard you.
Yes, okay. Commissioner Ryan.
And County Attorney, I appreciate your guidance. Obviously, was not looking to do a walk-on, not having any information, any insight whatsoever, but certainly have the confidence in the executive director. If the controller has any ideas by all means, share them with him. I think, what we're trying to do is put in additional controls, open to having more controls than not, but just want to make sure that we could do it within the parameters we have and outlined by the county attorney. It's just hard to, A, entertain such a request, B, what firms are qualified, C, the vetting of it. So while I more than appreciate the comments made by our controller, it's just at the moment we do not have enough information whatsoever. Concept, I like the theory, and I'm sure the executive director will take all those into consideration. Thank you.
All right. Okay, I have none. Are there, commissioners, are there any committee appointments today? Sorry.
I don't have any.
No committee appointments. I think we're all full.
Okay.
We're missing some members, but,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
they're all appointed.
Okay, okay, this time, are there comments from the Airport Special Management Committee?
I know we've discussed this many times in the meetings about the role of the Special Management Committee. But there seems to be some perception in the public that they don't know about what this committee does. So I'd like to just say once again on the record that the Port Authority Commissioners have a team of 7 highly educated, highly experienced professionals that vet every agenda item before it comes to the board and provides comments about how we see the item is perceived. And so I just want to make that clear to the public that the Port Authority Commissioners are not up here operating in a vacuum. They have a team of experts that help them make their decisions. Thank you. Anyone else have anything?
I had a comment, if I may,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Chairman. I wanted to defend this Board of Port Commissioners. There was some publicity this week about us not doing a national search for our director 2 times. And I want to applaud the wisdom of this board because it was discussed. It wasn't like in a vacuum. And at the time when we hired Ben Siegel after Director Mulder left, he was by far the best choice. And I think the 4 or 5 years he served were great, improved. He knew the system, he knew everything. And if we wanted to just go out and spend $300,000 or $400,000 or $500,000 and do all of this and bring somebody in that knows nothing, well, we know what that can result in. Similarly, when Ben Siegel retired, we had Mr. Hennigan here, who has vast experience at a much larger airport doing exactly what this terminal expansion is. And had we, my opinion here, had we gone out for a national search again, A, it delays a whole lot of things, continuity goes away, but it's my experience that the people that apply for this position are on their way up, okay? And so to go from a smaller airport trying to get a bigger and bigger, like any other job progression does. We're fortunate that Mr. Hannigan wanted to come here, and he came from a much larger airport with much larger experience, and we probably, if we had done a national search, we would not have seen that caliber of an applicant. And I just wanted to defend you guys because I get sick of hearing this stuff and knowing the decisions you make, and I'm sorry, I'm off my soapbox.
Yes, sir. Well, we appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
Fran?
I really miss, for years and years and years, we had Laura Lane here, and all of a sudden she retired or was dismissed, I'm not sure.
Who?
Laura Ruane from the News Press.
Oh, yeah,
She covered every one of our meetings. And I think we need to blow our own horn. There's so many good stories here at the airport, and certainly Laura used to, hold our feet to the fire and do the stories that she should do, but she found a lot of good stuff. I can't believe the questions I get as just a part of this committee on what people ask me, and you're right about the public, their taxes. I mean, they don't understand it at all. So do we ever get anybody here from the News Press, or When Laura left,
they
did
don't-
they just not?
Not much existence there,
Yeah,
really. I
do
mean,
you wanna,
they got two
Vicky, do you
reporters.
wanna?
We deal with the same
God
thing,
bless
Fran,
Vicky,
from
she
the
does
county
the
side.
best she can to, you know, all the different questions that she gets.
What's going on?
Good morning, Commissioners. Vicki Moreland for the record. Yes, no, the news press did not hire an equivalent person who covered tourism and airport. There are several people still in the media that are interested in what we're doing, and we do a lot to get that message out. Every news release we put out, at the bottom of it has boilerplate saying, we don't use your tax dollars. Every time Steve goes out to speak to groups or I go out to speak to groups, we emphasize that because we want people to understand that we don't tap into the property taxes for Lee County. We operate separately. And again, as several of the commissioners have mentioned, and of course our ASMC members, $8.4 billion is the economic benefit of RSW. And that was a study done by FDOT in about a year and a half ago. So it's certainly exponentially getting bigger. And we do expect to hit well over 11 million passengers this year. And you've certainly seen, I think it's 17 new markets have been announced in the last 60 days. So the future is very bright for us. And we'll continue to work on getting those messages out to make sure that we're putting our best foot forward for the airports.
If I could, Fran, something we deal with this every day on the
Pendergrass.
county side. We talk about this with the board all the time. How do we get our message out? And usually it's with something that negative, they don't show up. And the news press is, I would say, get with Wendy. I know Vicki, anybody does work with Wendy over the news press. They're down to a really, really, really limited staff now, really, really limited coverage in the county anymore because there's so many different avenues of media now between social media and cable news and local news and everything. So it's just really hard to get your message out. But you guys do a good job here putting out the new flights coming and everything. But again, like the runs for the cost of the budget, they won't report or we don't give out the information. 38% of that increase of cost is because of Biden-Harris economics over the last 4 years. That's all run over from COVID. So you got to look at the big picture, why there's an overage in budgets. Well, there's a reason for that. They won't report that, though. Even if we put it out there, they won't report it. So it's unfortunate, but we'll continue to put that message out and try to provide Steve's staff, give the correct information out, put the facts out, but it's just hard to get that out because there's so many different things. Some people are just getting stuff on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, whatever it is. So there's so many different ways, and people we know may only see the news press online now mostly, and it's really, really, really limited numbers on that too. I mean, we don't even get it at work anymore. So somebody asked me if I saw a news press article, I said, no, we don't get it anymore, So, and then you have others that try to hide behind the word business, try to get people pro-business, or really, if you read their articles, they're not pro-business, based upon the editor's response, because if it's political, it changes every year based upon the year. It's going to slow down now because, thank goodness, some of our campaigns are with now for the next year. So it's going to be quiet for a year or so, then it'll start back up again. So,
thank you,
right,
Mr. Scott. Yes, Scott.
Yeah, if I may, just a report on a couple things that are going on in Collier County because it involves RSW and Page Field and so forth. 15 years ago, I was a co-founder of, actually more like 25 years ago, co-founder of Friends of Naples Airport. 15 years ago, we produced a video that was highly successful to speak against those who were opposed to the airport noise. And it worked. It was highly successful. The problem is now it's 15 years old, so the information is 15 years old. It also was 31 minutes, and nobody's going to sit down and watch a 31-minute video these days when you've got so many, TikTok and all the others that people get their information in 30 seconds or whatever. So I took the unapproved step to contact the person that actually did that video. His name is Ariel Ashkenazi, and this guy does work that's unbelievable, technically spectacular. And he has now put together a proposal for us to redo, but doing it in 30 to 60 to maybe 90-minute snippets that can be watched on TikTok, and one on the economy and one on the airport
contribution and so forth and so on. So I'd like to talk to whoever it is that you recommend, Stephen, to see if you want to do that same kind of thing here, because people will watch it. Secondly, there's one person on the airport authority in Collier County, Naples actually, Naples Airport Authority, and he has made it his lifelong ambition to close or move the airport. I don't believe, and the study was done. It's been done. They spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on a study that none of us approved. I mean, except that one guy. I don't think, in fact, correct me, staff, if I'm wrong, or commissioners, I don't think they ever contacted RSW or LCPA or anybody else to see, you know, how it would impact moving our airport eastward into the county. Right now, it lies within the city limits. If I'm wrong, correct me, but I don't, you know, I should have been contacted as a representative on this body. And there's so many reasons to do it. And in fact, our county commissioners have come together and said, we don't want it out in the county. Find where it is, leave it there. There's so many reasons to not move it, but they're continuing with this study. So that's something that we're dealing with now, and hopefully Ariel Ashkenazi can produce a series of videos for the TikTok and the Facebooks and so forth. And we will be successful again, but boy, I'll tell you what, we're having a battle down there, a big battle. And they claim they have contacted Lee County Port Authority. Correct me if I'm wrong. Has anybody been contacted? No, I didn't think so.
Yeah, thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the update. I want to praise you all, because I don't really think it's very hard to get our message out. I know some of us commissioners have spoken with county staff about that there's a lot that goes on, and we rely on y'all so much. You see it before we do, and we have a great staff of people. We do want to promote within. That's what we have a kind of a tradition of doing. Doesn't always work, but we have remedies if it doesn't work. But I just think that people don't realize today we have 65 items on this agenda that are billions of dollars.
Literally.
Billions. There's a lot to look at, a lot to read, a lot to learn, and every now and then a mistake is made. No matter how great our eyes are, and they are great. But we all learn from it, we move forward, and we continue to do business. And I want to praise y'all, because I think you do a tremendous job, and I think the staff here at the airport does a great job. So that being said, any other thing, commissioners, on this?
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we will move to the executive director, Mr. Hemington. Any items?
Yeah, I have a couple. I want to start with just the extension of staff that we're going out for. So again, it's a new concept to LCPA. It's you know, in the industry at other airports, at larger airports. But you know, to the comment the Commissioner made about where do you get that expertise to do an audit internal, to do financial forensics, to do claims, to do professional or technical services. This is what that kind of project or program allows you to do. We're in the process of getting 2 different contracts, one for the terminal expansion phase 1 that's currently underway, and one to work on phase 2, Concourse E, which will, I think, you know, address a lot of the concerns from the clerk. More than happy to meet with the clerk to update them on, I believe it was item 6, which I feel will do a lot of that, but that's part of on us in the next briefings and following to really extol the virtues of what that is. I believe I heard you wanted a quick update on phase 1, the terminal expansion. So right now we've been working closely. We had Manhattan, Atkins, and some subs in here over the last 2 weeks. Series of about 6 long days to look at all of the designs that are in progress and have been getting finalized. They're down to the last set of drawings. Pricing is going on right now. Once that final set is done, pricing will continue and will get shored up. One of the important things that we're going to be undertaking next week, it's already started, but we're going to try and finalize it next week at a already scheduled meeting, is a look at our phasing. Phasing is very important to the pricing and the time of this project. If we can adjust the phasing is about 5 years old at this point, and find any efficiencies or just a different train of thought there might be some price and time gained there. So this next month is really going to be crucial to be able to hit our deliverables to the board, which is how much it costs, how long is it going to take. So I think, you know, another big thing is not only with phase one, but Commissioner Greenwell, you just noted, there's a lot of work that the staff has put into this book, and they should be commended for literally years of work to get to today, but that just gets us to today. Now we got to do it. And I know there's, you know, things that are in progress right now, and a small book full of a lot of work that we need to get due, but I think we're ready and we're poised to take that under guide, and we appreciate the support of the board and ASMC and the attorney's office in that regard. Next item, so some good news. I'm happy to announce that at the annual Florida Airport Conference in Miami, the Port Authority was the recipient of the 2024 Florida Airports Council Environmental Award for our innovative and adaptive management of the RSW Mitigation Park. This award is given to an airport that implements projects having a positive impact on the environment. RSW was recognized for our efforts to maintain and enhance the 7,000-acre mitigation park through the elimination of invasive species and exotics in a sensitive habitat, and also demonstrating a balance between the environmental and ecological benefits while preserving and enhancing local wetlands, regional significant, which is of regional significance to Southwest Florida. So I'd like to thank the board for their stewardship and to our staff for all their hard work. And if you look over my shoulder, there's a nice vase or vase, depending on what part of the country you are from, that we received. So congratulations to our environmental team and development for that award. Airport Council International last week released the 2023 North American Airport Traffic Study, which contained passenger, cargo, and aircraft operations from 275 of the North American airports, and RSW was ranked 44th. So we're ebbing and flowing in there, and that's in account with Hurricane Ian that we're still recovering from. So we still have some move there, but overall we're holding our own. And my last item, airlines. So this next year we're adding, or not next year, pretty soon to start, we're adding 17 additional markets, 7 of which have never been served out of RSW. Some of those include Bangor, Maine, Burlington, Vermont, Portsmouth, New Hampshire, South Bend, and a couple others on there. The big message, though, is currently we have 1.2 million seats scheduled for November. In December, scheduled seats are going up to 1.4, or available seats. So a month to month, November to December, we have 200,000 more seats that are going to be available into the Southwest Florida market. So, you know, it's looking positive, and we'll see what the rest of the spring holds for the airport. So it's going to be a lot going on out here, and we look forward to it.
Thanks.
Mr. Hammond.
Thanks, Chair. Have you been able to verify, I think, this number of 135, or is it 153 or 135? It's a big number that they're saying the phase one project is over budget in the reports. Have you been able to verify if that is indeed the number?
So that, you know, based on how it was told to me, that was a meeting discussed, or that was a number discussed in a meeting against 3 or 4 people. Nothing has been verified, and I can't look at you and give you a firm number yet. That's part of what we can do from a phasing standpoint. If we can change our phasing, then that could potentially change our cost. We have some opportunity if we can reuse some materials we have on hand versus manufacturing. How long is manufacturing time? So again, this next month, you know, especially following our meeting next week, we'll really be able to get a closer number. Unfortunately, I don't have that if that's a high number or a low number. I don't want to give a number because it wouldn't be accurate.
Okay, so that number's not a factual number that should, okay, keep being repeated. All right, and then, you know, what are your plans to, you know, we talked a lot about progress reports for the phase two terminal expansion. Can we look at making sure that we get those same level of progress? I like what you've already started with us. You've been briefing us very well on it, but can we get that same level of progress report for phase one as well going forward?
Yes.
You know, and I would even like to be able to hear from representatives from Manhattan and Atkins too. I mean, they're in this. You know, obviously we're going to get to a point where we're going to have to talk about the end of the project and settling up everything like that. But until then, I would like to get on the same page with everybody to bring this thing home to completion for the passengers. Because as you just mentioned, we've got a whole lot of new air service coming, a whole lot of new passengers coming. They're going to need a bigger terminal to enjoy, and we need to bring this project in.
And I think, you know, you hit on it before, is there's a lot of exciting things going on. You know, the whole county, the whole region should be invigorated by this project, because 14 gates, you know, the growth that we're seeing, 200,000 passengers with an existing terminal. We have 14,000 more. What is that? 20,000 fuzzy math more passengers a day. Just how we're flowing right now, which, you know, you get more flights in here, more people, you know, it's just great for the economy. So there's a lot to be excited about, and I think these projects really are the kickoff, at least for us, to really show the growth and how much people value Southwest Florida.
Commissioner Pendergrass.
Where are we at with the Atkins and Manhattan? Have they gave a final number yet when they're going to be able to get started back on phase one as far as?
A date time frame?
Yes.
So that's what we'll be working on. So part of that phasing meeting is what will kind of determine time, because they'll have to go back to the sub. So based on, you know, 5 years ago, it was kind of, call it greenfield, you know, it was set a certain way with the phasing. We'll do part one and then take part two. Knowing that some of the things are built now, where can we gain those efficiencies? Can we look at the phasing, take a bigger envelope earlier, which will help speed that up? So once we determine the phasing aspect and what changes we can make, then that'll be able to answer that time. So that's a deliverable we have for.
We talked about this individually, you and me. We haven't talked about it openly in the board, but are you going to try to include, maybe to expedite the project since it's behind, doing more work during the daytime? So I know in the past, usually RSW kind of do everything at nighttime. There's no one here, and try to, you know, hide behind the walls. But, you know, we're running behind. Is it possible to get the project done sooner?
So one of the things that just, you know, my experience, you know, or what it appeared was we were trying to limit impact. You know, we're at the point now where if you know, I know we had a conversation about you were traveling and you walked by construction at Pickett Airport, you know, there's construction.
Right.
Well, we're gonna look similar, you know, because we're at the point where our numbers, we're going from 1.2 to 1.4. Our numbers are gonna keep going up. So we have to take the mindset that we have to communicate. We're working with Vicki and team. We have to not only communicate internally, externally, set the expectations for the board of here's what you're going to see, here's where the pain points are going to be, here's how we're evaluating phasing to try and get that done as efficiently as possible. And that includes what you just said is a reevaluation of our work window and why aren't we working full, you know,
We're seeing the numbers now, like, you know, traveling this here last week, even this time of year, usually the park garage on the second floor is not full, and it's full every day right now, where normally it's not. So we're seeing those, and that's going to happen February and March this year, and the next coming year after that. So.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Steve, I appreciate your report. I gather once this next 30 days passes by, you'll have an opportunity to look at, you know, what type of efficiencies, what type of staging, what type of things, and then you'll be able to drill down and compress that. I think it's, you know, important. You know, one of the things that came up at our county meeting on Tuesday was conversation about bridges. Sandoval came up, Pine Island came up. You know, so we sat down with DOT, with staff, and talked about, you know, how do we do this? What's it look like? You know, when we initially were projecting the Pine Island Bridge, it was 4 months, it went to 8 months. So we're talking with DOT and the contractor, how do we accelerate this? What type of potential incentives might be there to do so? Same thing came up with Sandoval Bridge. How do we do such a project? You know, I think what everyone needs to understand, and the balance you have, is that the demand was, one, accelerated at a pace that I don't think anyone really thought of when we were growing to the degree we did right after the pandemic. Then you throw in, you know, what probably is going to be the most costliest storm ever to impact Southwest Florida, you know, $35 billion. Then you go through, you know, not only the growth that we're going through, the additional demand as a result of the reconstruction and recovery, and now we're going through a major, you know, obviously expansion in Lee County. I mean, I think the supply is just so of such quality and demand, you know, where the demand that's here and the supply, the two are going to intersect, unfortunately, not necessarily parallel each other. You know, pure simple. There's far too much demand and not enough supply, because what do you do when you try to do those things? You stop roads. We're trying to do projects in the evening. We're trying to have people work 18 hours a day. So part of the problem we have is the success we had. And when you overcome a pandemic and you overcome a hurricane of this nature of both, you know, impacts it had to us, we're still dealing with that. So I don't know what entity, whether you're a Fortune 1 company or any other, that's not going to run into some difficulties with it. I look forward to your report. I think the board's, you know, trying to understand this. Commissioner Pendergrass talks about 12 years ago. You know, again, none of us here can talk about those things. He obviously walked in this board and trying to do things to accelerate. But I just think when you look at it, talk about messaging, just the magnitude of what we've tried to accomplish since the pandemic and the different challenges we've been thrown with such a demand that's really, you know, unheard of in trying to meet those. So thank you. I look forward to your report.
Commissioner Sandelli.
I was asked to provide some welcoming comments for a resiliency conference that's going to happen next week. And so I was working on it last night, and a lot of what we talked about today is coming together. That conference was supposed to be here 2 years ago, and it wasn't happening because of the hurricane. So when you look at 24 months ago, and you look at what we've been through, as Commissioner Wayne had, and we all, that, what we've accomplished, I feel much better about what we've accomplished. The challenges that we had to meet were significant. Is some things going to get missed for whatever reasons? Yes. But the fact of the matter is, I'm very proud of this community and very proud of collectively what we've done. I hope we continue to focus on that part. And I think that will be part of my comments next week. Welcome. We're glad you're here. Sorry I couldn't be here 2 years ago. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. I would just like to add, enlighten the moment a little bit and tell you, Steve, that that could be a vase, a vase, or it could be a trophy in my world.
One of each.
Maybe even MVP trophy.
There you go.
We'll find out. All right. All right. Is that it? We conclude that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Are there any attorney items at this time?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. At this time, I will call for public comment on matters not on the agenda. Does anyone wish to speak at this time? Forever hold your peace. Okay, at this time I will close public comment. There is no further business in front of us, so we are adjourned.
Good job.
Good meeting.